Good afternoon, grade 8 students. I'm Sugui, and this is
Alvarado, and we're here to teach you about conditional statements.
Shall we begin?
Yeah.
Okay.
I heard you did
To be able to understand conditional statements, we must know what the hypothesis and conclusion is.
What's the hypothesis and conclusion?
If is the hypothesis and then is the conclusion. When you're writing one, don't forget to add a comma before you write then.
Patricia, did you know that hypothesis and conclusion is also known as a conditional statement in geometry?
What's a conditional statement?
Hypothesis is the if part of a conditional statement, while the conclusion is the then part of a conditional statement.
Hypothesis and conclusion is similar to conditional statements, so don't confuse yourselves.
Can you give an example of a conditional statement?
Okay, so here's the example of a conditional statement. If the cat runs from the dog, then the dog will chase the cat. So what's the hypothesis here? The hypothesis here is if the cat runs from the dog, so that's the hypothesis, and the conclusion is then the dog will chase the cat.
A conditional statement, symbolized by PQ, is an if and then statement in which P is the hypothesis and Q is the conclusion. The logical connector in the conditional statement is denoted by a symbol. The conditional is defined to be true unless a true hypothesis leads to a false conclusion.
Swap both of them. What do you call that?
If we swap both of them, it's called the converse of a conditional statement.
What's a converse?
So basically, the statement is still the same except you have to interchange it. For example, if the dog chases the cat, then the cat will run from the dog. So they like change it, they swap it. Like compared to the conditional, it's just swap. Okay?
The converse of a conditional statement is formed by interchanging or swapping the hypothesis and conclusion of the original statement. In other words, the parts of the sentence change places. The words if and then do not move.
Now, what if you want to negate it?
If we negate a conditional statement, it's called the inverse of a conditional statement.
What's an inverse?
For example, if the cat will not run from the dog, then the dog will not chase the cat.
So this is the inverse. Compared to the conditional statement, you negate it. There's a not. You see that? If the cat will not run from the dog, then the dog will not chase the cat. That's what it is.
The inverse of a conditional statement is formed by negating the hypothesis and conclusion of the original statement. In other words, the word not is added to both parts of the sentence.
Now, what if we both swap and negate the conditional statement?
It's called contrapositive.
What's a contrapositive?
What are the examples of a contrapositive statement?
So this is what a contrapositive looks like. If the dog will not chase the cat, then the cat will not run from the dog. So the difference is you change it, you swap it, and then you also negate it. So it's like converse and inverse at the same time. So that's what it's like.
The contrapositive of a conditional statement is formed by negating both the hypothesis and the conclusion, and then interchanging the resulting negations. In other words, the contrapositive negates and switches the parts of the sentence. It does both the jobs of the inverse and the converse.
What are biconditional statements?
An example of a biconditional is like this. So you can only form a biconditional statement if the conditional statement and the converse is true. So if one of them is not true, you can't form a biconditional statement. So this is the example. The cat will run from the dog if and only if the dog will chase the cat.
A biconditional statement are true when both statements have the exact same truth value. It is formed by combining two conditional statements. It uses if and only if or IFF instead of using if and then.
Thank you for listening.